Tai-Ho wiped sweat from his forehead as he tightened the last bolt on the engine core. The lights in the engine room of the research vessel Horizon dimmed for a moment, then brightened to full power. "There we go," he said to himself, pleased with his work. It was late by ship time. Most of the crew slept while Tai-Ho worked alone in the engine room. He liked the quiet of night shift, just him and the gentle hum of the ship's engines. Earth had joined the Galactic Union only 3 months ago. The Horizon was one of the first human ships allowed to explore beyond our solar system. Their mission was simple: learn, observe, and represent humanity well. Tai-Ho put his tools away when a strange sound echoed through the ship. A deep, metallic groan followed by a solid thump. He froze. "Control room, this is Chief Engineer Tai-Ho. Did you hear that?" he asked through his communicator. No answer came back. The ship's alarm suddenly blared to life, flashing red lights across the walls. "Unplanned docking in progress," announced the ship's computer in a calm voice. "Unknown vessel has attached to airlock 3. Tai-Ho grabbed a wrench, not much of a weapon, but better than nothing, and rushed toward airlock 3. The ship's night crew was minimal. He might be the closest person to whatever was happening. When he reached the airlock corridor, he slowed his steps. The inner door remained closed, but the control panel showed the outer door was open. Something had connected to their ship. Captain J1's voice finally came through his communicator. "All crew, we have an unscheduled contact. Unknown ship has docked without permission. Security team to airlock 3. All other personnel remain at stations." Too late for Tai-Ho to turn back now. He was already at the airlock. The inner door hissed, pressure equalizing. It was opening. Tai-Ho stepped back, wrench raised, as the door slid open fully. The beings that stepped through were nothing like the friendly aliens from the Galactic Union. These creatures stood over 7 feet tall with scaly, gray-green skin. They had long, muscular tails and narrow snouts filled with sharp teeth. Their eyes were vertical slits of yellow against black. 4 of them entered, wearing what looked like armor made of dark metal and carrying strange weapons. Behind them came their leader, taller than the others, with red markings across his scales and a cape that flowed behind him. "I am Commander Krath of the Vex Empire," the leader announced in perfect English, his voice deep and raspy. "Who is in charge of this servant vessel?" Tai-Ho lowered his wrench slightly, confused. "Servant vessel. This is the Earth research ship Horizon *." The aliens looked at each other. The leader, Krath, let out a sound that might have been a laugh. "Earth, you are those new creatures who recently stumbled into Union space." Krath looked Tai-Ho up and down. "So fragile looking. What stronger species do you serve? Who built this ship for you?" "We built it ourselves," Tai-Ho said. "Humans don't serve anyone." This time, all the aliens made the laughing sound. Krath stepped closer to Tai-Ho, towering over him. "Impossible. Your kind could not create such technology. You are too small, too soft." He poked Tai-Ho's shoulder with a clawed finger. "No natural armor. No claws. Tiny teeth. You must be pets or servants of a true spacefaring race." Before Tai-Ho could answer, Captain J1 arrived with 2 security officers. Despite being shorter than Tai-Ho, she stepped forward with calm authority. "I am Captain J1 of the Earth Alliance vessel Horizon *," she said. "You have docked with our ship without permission. State your business." Krath turned to face her, his tail swishing in what seemed like amusement. "This small female speaks as if she has authority," he said to his companions. Then to J1, "The Vex Empire claims this sector of space. We investigate all ships passing through our territory. Your masters should have informed you of this rule." "We have no masters," J1 said firmly. "And according to Galactic Union maps, this is neutral space." Krath's yellow eyes narrowed. "The Union has no power here. The Vex decide what is theirs." He looked around the corridor. "Take me to your ship's control room. I wish to see more of this. Human vessel. Captain Jai-1 led Commander Krath and 2 of his guards to the Horizon's control room. Tai-Ho followed behind, still holding his wrench. The ship's security officers walked on either side of the aliens, hands on their stun batons. The control room was the pride of the Horizon. Screens lined the walls, showing star maps and ship systems. The main window looked out into space, where the strange ship of the Vex now blocked their view. It was dark and spiky, like a metal sea urchin. "This is unexpected," said Krath, looking around the room. "Your controls are small, made for weak fingers." He tapped a screen with his claw. "But the technology is real." "I told you," said Jai-1. "Humans built this ship. We are a young species in space travel, but we learn quickly." Krath turned to face her. "If what you say is true, then your situation is worse than I thought." "What do you mean?" asked Jai-1. "If you are not protected by a stronger race, then you are simply available." Krath's mouth stretched into what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. "The Vex Empire claims Earth as a new resource world. Your people will serve us." The control room went quiet. The night crew looked at each other with worried faces. "Earth is a member of the Galactic Union," Jai-1 said firmly. "We are not available for claiming." Krath made the laughing sound again. "The Union is weak. They accept any species that asks, even soft ones like you. The Vex take what we want." "And if we refuse?" asked Jai-1. Krath stepped closer to her. Even though he was nearly twice her height, Jai-1 did not step back. "Then we will take your world by force. Your cities will burn. Your people will learn to obey." He looked around at the humans in the room. "Why fight? Look at yourselves. No claws, no armor. Your bodies are so easily broken." Tai-Ho gripped his wrench tighter, angry at the alien's words. One of the security officers moved forward, but Jai-1 held up her hand, stopping him. "We are more than our physical form, Commander," she said calmly. "I suggest you reconsider." Krath's tail swished back and forth. "I will show you what you face if you resist." He pressed a button on his wrist device. A door opened on the Vex ship, visible through the control room window. Something large moved in the darkness beyond. A creature emerged, connected to the Vex ship by a heavy chain. It had 6 legs, each ending in hooked claws. Its body was like a giant insect but covered in metal plates. 2 huge pincer-like jaws clicked at the front of its head, and multiple eyes glowed red in the darkness of space. "This is a devourer," said Krath proudly. "My personal pet. We have thousands. They can tear through your ship's hull in minutes. They can rip a human in half with one snap of their jaws." He pressed another button. A video appeared on the main screen, showing the creatures attacking some kind of structure, tearing through metal and stone with frightening speed. "Wakai Arentu to Reembiling, human." Krath suddenly roared at Jai-1. "One word from me, and my pet will devour you." The Vex guards seemed to expect the humans to fall to their knees in fear. Tai-Ho felt his heart race, but he stayed standing. The security officers kept their positions. Jai-1 simply tilted her head, studying the creature on screen. "Interesting design," she said. "The exoskeleton appears to be enhanced with synthetic materials. What's its power source?" Krath blinked, his yellow eyes showing confusion. You ask about its power source. Did you not hear me? It will tear you apart." Jai-1 nodded. "I heard you. It looks formidable. But I'm curious about how it functions." The Vex commander stepped back, clearly not expecting this reaction. "You have 30 of your Earth days," he said after a moment of silence. 30 days to prepare your world for Vex rule. Then we come with our fleet and our devourers." He looked at each human in the room. "If you resist, you will see what these creatures can really do." With that, he signaled his guards. "We leave now. Remember my warning." 3 days after the Vex left, The United Earth Defense Council met in a large room in Seoul. Leaders from all major nations sat around a round table. Captain Ji-won and Tae-ho stood near a big screen, ready to share what they had seen. "The recording is clear," said Council Leader Kim as the video of Krath and his devourer played. "These Vex aliens have given us 27 more days before they attack." Military strategist Yeon-ji stood up. She was short but moved with purpose. Her eyes were sharp as she studied the Vex in the video. "I've watched this recording 50 times, she said. "The Vex have impressive technology and weapons, but I see weaknesses in their approach." She walked to the screen and pointed at Krath. "Look at how he acts. The big voice, the threats, showing off his pet. He expects fear. When Captain Ji-won didn't show fear, he was confused." Yeon-ji tapped some buttons, and new images appeared on screen. "We checked with the Galactic Union. The Vex have taken over 12 planets in the last 50 years. But here's the interesting part. Not one of those worlds put up a real fight. They all surrendered after seeing the Devourers." Council Leader Kim frowned. "So their reputation wins battles before they start." "Exactly," said Yeon-ji. "They rely on fear, not actual fighting skill. I think they might not be as strong as they want us to believe." A door opened, and scientist Sang-min hurried in. He carried a tablet and looked excited. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "I was studying the scans we took of the devourer creature." He connected his tablet to the main screen. A detailed image of the creature appeared. "These pets aren't natural life forms," Sang-min explained. "They were made in labs. Look at these parts." He zoomed in on sections of the creature. "They changed a peaceful herd animal into this scary-looking thing. It has big claws and jaws, yes, but its brain is still mostly the original animal, designed to follow, not to think or hunt." The room was quiet as everyone took in this information. "So the Devourers are mostly for show?" asked a council member. "Not entirely," said Sang-min. "They're still dangerous, but they're designed to look scary first, be effective second, like a costume to frighten children." Tae-ho spoke up for the first time. "On the ship, Commander Krath seemed genuinely surprised that we weren't afraid, like he expected us to just give up immediately." Yeon-ji nodded. "That matches what I found. The Vex society is built on showing dominance. Those with higher rank intimidate those below them. Their whole culture works on fear and submission." "But what do we do with this information?" asked Council Leader Kim. "They still have bigger ships and more advanced weapons." Captain Ji-won stepped forward. "The Galactic Union has offered help, but their ships won't arrive for at least 2 months. We need to handle this ourselves." Yeon-ji smiled. "I have an idea. We know the Vex expect us to either surrender or prepare for a traditional battle. What if we do neither?" She brought up images of Earth's history. "Humans have always faced dangers. We evolved on a planet with predators far worse than these Devourers. We survived because we're adaptable." Sang-min caught on to her thinking. "The Vex don't understand humans. They think physical strength is everything." "Exactly," said Yeon-ji. "They expect fear, so let's show them something else entirely." "What do you suggest?" asked Council Leader Kim. "The Vex want to see us trembling," said Yeon-ji. "I say we show them why humans don't tremble easily. We've faced real predators our whole existence. These bullies with their science projects don't understand who they're dealing with." For the first time since the Vex threat began, smiles appeared around the table. "We have 27 days," said Captain Ji-won. "Let's make them count." "This is a bad idea," Tae-ho whispered as he and Hannah floated silently toward the Vex outpost. They wore special space suits that hid them from Vex sensors. "All the best ideas sound bad at first," Hannah replied with a small smile. As the ship's communication specialist, she understood languages and signals better than anyone. That's why she was chosen for this dangerous mission. The Vex outpost hung in space like a dark star. Sharp points stuck out in all directions. Red lights blinked along its edges. It was much smaller than a full Vex ship, but still bigger than their small stealth pod. "Remember the plan," Hannah said. "We get in, find their information center, download what we can, and get out. No fighting unless we have no choice." 20 days had passed since the Vex threat. Earth needed more information to prepare properly. That's why Taeho and Hannah volunteered for this risky mission. They reached a small side door meant for maintenance. Taeho used tools from his engineer kit to open it. The door slid open without an alarm. "So far, so good," he whispered. Inside, the Vex outpost was hot and humid. The air smelled strange, like wet earth and metal. The walls were rough, not smooth like human ships. The lights glowed yellow, making it hard to see clearly. "This way," Hannah said, checking the small device on her wrist. "I'm picking up data signals from this direction." They moved slowly through narrow halls, hiding whenever they heard the heavy steps of Vex guards. Twice they had to squeeze into small spaces to avoid being seen. After 20 minutes of careful movement, they found what they were looking for: the information center. Computer screens lined the walls. Strange symbols flashed across them. "Keep watch," Hannah told Taeho as she connected her device to the Vex system. "This will take a few minutes." Taeho stood by the door, looking out for guards. Meanwhile, Hannah worked quickly, copying as much information as she could. "This is interesting," she said quietly. "According to these records, the Vex have claimed many worlds, but most surrendered without any fighting. How many did they actually have to conquer by force?" Taeho asked. "None," Hannah said, surprised. "Not a single one. They just show up, make threats, show off their pets, and planets give up." Taeho turned to look at her. "You mean they've never actually had to fight a war?" "It seems that way," Hannah answered. She stopped suddenly. "Someone's coming." There was no time to hide. The door slid open and a Vex guard stepped in. He was bigger than the ones they had seen before, with more elaborate markings on his scales. The Vex froze when he saw the humans. His hand moved toward the weapon at his side. Taeho prepared to fight, but Hannah did something unexpected. She stood up straight, looked directly at the Vex, and spoke in a calm, firm voice. "Your security systems need improvement. Report this breach to your superiors immediately." The Vex guard hesitated, his hand still on his weapon. He seemed confused by Hannah's confident manner. In the Vex society, showing fear meant low rank. Showing confidence meant high rank. By acting unafraid, Hannah made the guard uncertain. Who are you?" the guard asked, his voice less sure than before. "That is not your concern," Hannah replied coldly. "Your job is to report, not to question." To Taeho's amazement, the Vex guard actually stepped back. He was trained to respond to authority, and Hannah was acting like she had all the authority in the universe. I will report this," the guard said, backing toward the door. As soon as he left, Taeho looked at Hannah with wide eyes. "How did you know that would work?" "I didn't," she admitted. "But I read in the files that Vex society is strictly ordered by rank. I guessed that acting like I outranked him might confuse him." "We need to leave now," Taeho said. "That guard will be back with others soon." Hannah nodded and disconnected her device. "I got what we needed. Earth's leaders need to see this. The Vex aren't the unstoppable force they pretend to be." Sang-min had not slept in 2 days. His lab was filled with charts, images, and data about the Vex. Empty coffee cups sat on every surface. His eyes were tired, but his mind was racing. "I found it," he said to himself, staring at his screen. "I finally found it." He grabbed his tablet and ran from the lab. The hallways of the Earth Defense Center were busy with people preparing for the Vex arrival, now only 8 days away. In the main meeting room, Captain Jaewon and strategist Yeonji were looking at maps with Council Leader Kim. They looked up when Sang-min burst in. "I know why the Vex act the way they do," Sang-min said, trying to catch his breath. "It's their home world." He connected his tablet to the big screen. An image of a strange planet appeared. "This is Vexuria, their home planet," he explained. "It has very high gravity, almost 3 times Earth's. That's why the Vex evolved to be so strong." He showed more images, landscapes with tall, thick trees and heavy stone formations. "But the most important thing is this," Sang-min continued. "There were almost no large predators on Vexuria." "No predators?" Yunji asked. "How is that important?" "It means they didn't evolve facing danger," Sang-min said. "On Earth, humans had to survive lions, bears, wolves, and other predators. We learned to be cautious, clever, and brave." He showed a new image, a small furry creature that looked harmless. "This is the largest predator on Vexuria. It's not much bigger than a house cat." The Vex never had to develop courage against real threats. Captain Jaiwon nodded slowly. "So their aggressive displays are not about fighting," Sang-min finished. "They're about social order. They use intimidation to establish rank among themselves. They don't know how to handle a species that isn't afraid of their displays." At that moment, Tai-ho and Hannah entered the room. They had returned from their mission the day before. "That matches what we found," Hannah said. "The Vex have never fought a real war. Every planet they claimed surrendered after seeing their shows of force." She connected her own device to the screen, showing the files she took from the Vex outpost. "These are records of their conquests. Not one required actual fighting. Their whole empire is built on fear, not strength." Yunji smiled. "Then we have our answer. The Vex expect us to be afraid. If we show no fear, they won't know what to do." "It's more than that," Sang-min added. "Look at this." He pointed to a section of the Vex biology report. "Their bodies release stress chemicals when their displays don't work. It actually hurts them physically when they can't scare others." The room was quiet as everyone thought about what this meant. "So if we laugh at them, instead of showing fear," Tai-ho started, "it would be like pain to them." Sang-min confirmed. "It would shake their confidence more than any weapon." Council leader Kim stood up. "This is our strategy then. But how do we implement it? The Vex will be here in 8 days with their fleet and their pets." Captain Jaiwon stepped forward. "I have an idea. The Vex are coming to frighten us with their devourers. What if we show them Earth's animals? The real predators we've lived alongside for thousands of years." "You mean like a zoo?" asked Tai-ho, confused. "No," said Jaiwon with a smile. "I mean we show them humans working with Earth's most dangerous creatures. Training tigers, swimming with sharks, handling venomous snakes. Things the Vex would never dare to do." Hannah caught on quickly. "We show them that their scariest creatures are like pets to us." "Exactly," said Jaiwon. "We show them why humans don't tremble easily." Yunji walked to the window, looking at the sky where soon the Vex ships would appear. "We have one chance to get this right," she said. "If we show fear, we lose. If we laugh at the wrong moment, we might provoke them. We need to be careful." "But we will be ready," said Council Leader Kim firmly. "Humans have faced worse than the Vex. Much worse." On the 30th day, the Vex fleet arrived. 50 ships, each bigger than anything humans had built, appeared in Earth's orbit. They were dark and spiky, like metal sea urchins floating in the blackness of space. People around the world watched their skies. Some were afraid, but most were ready. The Earth Defense Council had shared their plan with all nations. Everyone knew what to do. The largest Vex ship moved closer to Earth. A message came through on all channels, in all languages. "Humans of Earth." Commander Kraft's voice boomed. "Your time has ended. The Vex Empire claims your world. Surrender now or face destruction." In the Earth Defense Center, Captain Jaiwon sat calmly at the main communication station. Tai-ho, Hannah, Yunji, and Sangmin stood behind her. They had worked day and night to prepare for this moment. "Open our channel," Jai-1 said. When the light turned green, she spoke clearly. "This is Captain G1 of Earth. We have received your message, Commander Krath. Please view our response." She nodded to Hannah, who pressed a button on her console. The signal they had prepared began broadcasting to the Vex fleet. The video showed scenes from Earth, but not what the Vex expected. There were no frightened humans, no panic, no trembling. Instead, they saw a woman calmly training a full-grown tiger, the big cat following her commands. A man swimming among sharks, touching their rough skin as they passed. Children laughing as they held large snakes at a zoo. Scientists studying deadly spiders with their bare hands. Firefighters running into burning buildings. Divers exploring the deepest parts of the ocean. More scenes followed, showing humans facing dangers that would terrify the Vex. On the main Vex ship, Commander Krath watched with his officers. His tail twitched nervously. This was not the response he expected. "What trick is this?" he growled. "Why do they show these things?" In orbit above Earth, more videos played. Ancient human warriors facing enemies twice their size. People climbing mountains without safety equipment. A trainer putting his head in a lion's mouth. When the video ended, Captain G1's face appeared on the Vex screens. "Commander Krath," she said calmly, "we have considered your demand. Earth does not surrender." She paused, then added, "We've also kept pets for thousands of years. Perhaps you'd like to meet them." The Vex command room was silent. Krath's scales had turned a lighter shade of green, a sign of stress among his kind. "This is unacceptable," he finally said. "You mock the might of the Vex Empire. You will see the true power of our Devours." He turned to his officers. "Prepare to release the first wave of Devours. Target their largest city." "Commander," one officer said carefully, "the humans do not seem afraid. Our records show that all other species surrendered when shown the Devours. This response is unexpected." Kraft slammed his fist on his chair. "Of course they're afraid. They must be hiding their fear to confuse us. No species can face Devours without trembling." Back on Earth, Yunji watched the Vex ships closely. "They're getting ready to attack," she said. "Phase 1 worked. We've confused them. Now for Phase 2. Jai-1 nodded and spoke into the communicator again. "Commander Kraft, before you act, we propose a demonstration. One Vex Devourer against one Earth animal. On neutral ground, the barren northern area of our moon. No weapons, no tricks, just a simple comparison." The humans held their breath as they waited for a response. Finally, Kraft's voice came through. It sounded different now, less confident, more angry. "Very well," he said. "One demonstration. But when your Earth creature is torn apart by my Devourer, you will surrender immediately." Jai-1 looked at her team. They all nodded. "We accept your terms," she said. "We will meet on the moon in 6 hours." As the communication ended, Taeho looked worried. "Are we really going through with this? Their Devourers are still dangerous." Minho, the animal behaviorist who had been quiet until now, stepped forward with a confident smile. "Trust me," he said. "My partner and I are ready for this." The moon's surface was gray and dusty. Earth hung in the black sky like a blue marble. 2 ships had landed about 100 meters apart, 1 Vex transport and 1 human shuttle. Between them, a flat area had been cleared for the demonstration. Special cameras floated in the air to show the event to both Earth and the Vex fleet. Minho stepped out of the human shuttle wearing a spacesuit. Behind him came Taeho, Hana, and Captain G1, also in spacesuits. Minho carried a large container with air holes. From the Vex ship, Commander Krath emerged with 4 guards. They wore no special suits. Their scaly skin protected them in the moon's harsh environment. 2 guards pulled a heavy metal box on wheels. The 2 groups met in the center of the cleared area. Special devices allowed them to speak to each other. "Are you ready to see true power, humans?" Krath asked. His voice sounded confident again, but his tail twitched nervously. "We are ready for the demonstration," Captain Jaiwan replied calmly. Krath signaled to his guards. They opened the metal box, and a devourer crawled out. In the moon's low gravity, the creature moved differently than in space. Its 6 legs stretched out, and its claws dug into the moon dust. Its many red eyes glowed in the darkness. Metal plates covered its body, and its huge pincers clicked open and closed. The devourer was even bigger than it had appeared on the screens, about the size of a small car. It hissed, a sound that carried through their communication devices. "Behold!" Krath shouted, falling back into his practiced speech. "Yarentutram belang, humans. One word from me, and my pe will devour you." Minho looked at the creature with interest, not fear. He studied its movements and behavior like the trained animal expert he was. "May I present our earth animal now?" he asked politely. Krath made a dismissive gesture with his clawed hand. "Show us this earth creature that you think can compare to a devourer." Minho opened his container and carefully took out its contents. The Vex leaned forward, expecting some huge beast. Instead, Minho held a medium-sized dog with thick fur, pointed ears, and an intelligent face. It was a German shepherd, wearing a special dog-sized spacesuit with a clear helmet. The Vex stared in silence. Then Krath began to make his laughing sound. This is your mighty earth predator, a small furry thing." Krath could barely speak through his laughter. "My devourer will swallow it whole." The other Vex joined in the laughter. They pointed at the dog, making fun of the human's choice. Minho waited patiently for the laughter to stop. Then he said, "This is Ranger. He is not a predator. He is my partner and friend. We work together." Work together? With an animal? Krath seemed confused by this concept. "Yes," said Minho. "Let me show you." He set Ranger down on the moon's surface. The dog stood calmly, looking at Minho for instructions. Minho made a simple hand signal. Ranger immediately sat down. Another signal, and Ranger lay down. A third signal, and Ranger rolled over in the moon dust. "Simple tricks," said Krath, unimpressed. "My devourer can tear through metal." "Your devourer only does one thing. Try to look scary," Minho replied. "Ranger can do hundreds of things because we communicate and work as a team." To prove his point, Minho gave more complex signals. Ranger ran in a perfect circle, then a figure 8. He came back to Minho's side at a whistle. Minho took out a small ball and threw it. Despite the low gravity, Ranger calculated the path perfectly and caught it, bringing it back to Minho. "Now," said Minho, "watch this." He pointed to a small rock about 50 meters away. "Ranger, fetch." The dog immediately ran to the exact rock Minho had pointed to, picked it up, and returned it to his hand. "Your devourer doesn't even know its own name," said Minho. "It can't solve problems or make decisions. It just follows basic programming." As if to prove Minho's point, the devourer was now clicking its pincers at its own shadow, confused by the strange lighting on the moon. Krath's scales had turned the pale green of stress again. The humans weren't afraid of his devourer. Worse, they were showing that their pet was smarter and more useful than his. "This proves nothing," Krath said angrily. "In combat, size and strength win." Captain Jaiwan stepped forward. "Commander Krath, this demonstration isn't about combat. It's about understanding. Humans don't form relationships based on fear. We work together, with each other and with animals, based on respect and communication." She looked at the confused devourer, then back at Krath. "Your pets are designed only to scare others. Our companions help us become better than we could be alone." As Ranger continued to perform complex commands on the moon's surface, a new light appeared in the black sky. A ship unlike any the humans had seen before was approaching. It was smooth and white, with gentle curves instead of the sharp edges of Vex ships. Commander Kraft saw it too. His eyes widened, and his tail went completely still. "Galactic Union," he said, his voice suddenly quiet. The new ship landed near the demonstration area. 3 beings emerged, none of them human or Vex. The first looked like a tall, blue-skinned person with 4 arms. The second was short and round with glossy fur. The third floated above the ground, a cloud of purple mist in roughly the shape of a person. Captain J1 stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth space. I am Captain J1. The blue being bowed slightly. "I am Ambassador Telex of the Galactic Union Council. We have been monitoring this situation." Telex turned to Commander Kraft, who had become very still. "Commander Kraft of the Vex Empire," Telex said, "you are in violation of Union Protocol 372. Attempted conquest of a protected developing world." Kraft's scales now turned almost white with stress. "The humans, they are not truly part of the Union. They are too primitive. Earth was accepted into the Union 3 months ago," Telex replied. "This information was sent to all member species, including the Vex." The floating purple being moved closer to Kraft. "The Vex have been warned before about expansion through intimidation. This breaks our most important rule: respect for all intelligent life." Kraft looked around, as if searching for escape. "The humans are weak. Look at them. No claws, no armor." The small furry being spoke next, its voice surprisingly deep. "That is why we came personally. To explain something you should understand about humans." The being turned to the Earth team. "Show me your hands, please." Confused but curious, Minho, Taiho, Hana, and Captain J1 held out their hands. "See these," the furry being said to Kraft. "These hands built ships that travel between stars. These hands with no claws created music, art, and mathematics. These hands tamed fire, split atoms, and cured diseases." Telex nodded. "The Union has studied Earth extensively. Their planet has one of the highest predator-to-prey ratios in the known galaxy." "What does that mean?" asked Tayo. "It means," the purple being explained, "that Earth is what many species call the death world. You evolved alongside more dangerous creatures than most intelligent species ever encounter." Captain J1 looked surprised. "Is that unusual?" "Very," said Telex. "Most intelligent species, like the Vex, evolved on safer worlds with few predators. They developed technology before they ever faced real dangers." The furry being pointed to Ranger, who sat calmly beside Minho. "This animal you called dog descended from hunters that could chase prey for days without stopping. On most worlds, such creatures would be considered monsters." Minho patted Ranger's head. "But we made friends with them instead of fearing them." "Exactly," said Telex. "That is what makes humans special. You don't tremble at threats because your entire evolution prepared you to face danger with clear minds." Commander Kraft had been listening to all this. His aggressive posture was gone now. "Are you saying humans are naturally brave?" he asked, struggling with the concept. "Not just brave," the purple being replied. "Adaptive. Where most species specialize, humans generalize. Where most fear the unknown, humans explore it." Telex turned to the Vex commander. "Your intimidation tactics work on species that never face true predators. Humans grew up with predators all around them. Your displays mean nothing to them." The truth finally seemed to hit Kraft. His entire approach, the Vex Empire's whole strategy of expansion through fear, wouldn't work on humans. "The Union Council has made a decision," Telex announced formally. "The Vex Empire must withdraw from Earth space immediately. All planets taken through intimidation must be given the choice to join the Union as independent worlds." Kraft looked at his devourer, still clicking its pincers at shadows. Then he looked at Ranger, sitting alert and intelligent beside his human partner. For the first time, The Vex commander saw his empire's weakness clearly. They had relied so much on looking scary that they had never developed real strength or cooperation. "I understand," Krath said, his voice different now, thoughtful rather than threatening. "We will comply with the Council's decision." 3 months after the confrontation on the moon, Earth had changed. Knowledge of alien life had spread to all people. Humans were preparing to take a bigger role in the Galactic Union. In a large park in Seoul, Taeho and Hannah walked together, enjoying the sunshine. Children played nearby, some pretending to be Vex aliens, others acting like Union ambassadors. "It's amazing how quickly people accepted everything," said Hannah, watching the children play. Taeho nodded. "Humans are good at adapting. That's what saved us in the end." They reached a bench where Captain Jaiwon sat reviewing reports on her tablet. She looked up and smiled as they approached. "Good news," she said. "The last Vex ships have left Union space. The planets they claimed are forming their own governments now." "And what about Earth?" asked Taeho, sitting beside her. "We're now official members of the Security Council," Jaiwon replied. "The Union wants humans to help with difficult diplomatic missions. Apparently, our ability to stay calm in tense situations is rare." Hannah laughed. "Who would have thought our normal human behavior would be our greatest strength in space?" A car pulled up nearby, and Eunji stepped out. She waved to them and walked over. "Sorry I'm late," she said. "I was at the new Galactic Embassy. You won't believe who arrived today requesting asylum." Before she could explain, another car arrived. Minho got out, with Ranger on a leash beside him. Following Minho was a tall, familiar figure with green scales and a tail. "Commander Krath." Taeho stood up in surprise. Krath approached them, walking differently than before. His head was not held as high, and his movements were less aggressive. He wore simple clothes rather than his military uniform. "Former commander," Krath corrected. "I am no longer with the Vex military." Minho guided Krath to the group. "Krath has asked to be Earth's first Vex exchange student. He wants to learn about humans directly." The humans looked at each other in surprise. "Why?" asked Jaiwon simply. Krath looked at each of them before answering. "The Vex have been wrong about many things. Our way of intimidation and fear. It has made us weak, not strong." He looked at Ranger, who sat calmly beside Minho. "Your animals trust you. Your people work together. Even when you disagree, you do not try to frighten each other into obeying." "And you want to learn this?" asked Hannah. "Yes," said Krath. "The Union Council has assigned me to study under Minho, to learn about training animals through trust, not fear." Minho smiled. Krath has already made progress. Ranger let him give a treat yesterday without growling. Krath held out his clawed hand carefully. Ranger looked at Minho, who nodded. The dog stepped forward and sniffed Krath's hand, then allowed the Vex to gently touch his head. "On my world, this would be impossible," Krath said quietly. "We believe all creatures must be controlled through dominance. But I see now there is another way. True strength isn't about being frightening," said Jaiwon. "It's about working together, trusting each other, and facing challenges with courage." "I am learning this," said Krath. "It is difficult to change thinking that has been with my people for generations, but necessary." Sangmin, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "The Vex Senate is changing too. The Union reports say they're adopting new laws, ending the forced displays of submission from lower ranks. My people have a hard path ahead," Krath admitted. "But watching how humans treat each other and your animals has shown me it is possible to build a society on cooperation rather than fear." Taeho remembered how frightened he had felt when first meeting the Vex. Now, seeing Krath gently petting Ranger, he realized how much had changed. "Will other Vex come to study Earthways?" he asked. "If I succeed, yes," said Krath. "Many young Vex are questioning our old ways now." As the sun began to set, they walked together through the park. Humans, and one Vex, talking not as enemies but as people learning from each other. High above Earth, ships from dozens of Union species orbited peacefully. Earth had found its place among the stars, not through having the biggest weapons or the scariest threats, but by showing the galaxy a different kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need to ask, "Why aren't you trembling?"